They use that profit to build their military up, man. And that's what they have been doing. They have finally built that military up. Now they have the powers, like Apocalypse say, now they have the powers to do what? To not be afraid anymore. Because now if America tries to evade them, guess what? All out war. And then their last resort is to do what? Nuclear missiles. You know, anytime when a nation is bagged into a corner, they got to use a missile. America have done it. They have done it to Hiroshima and Nagasaki when they tested that atomic bomb. And how many people that destroyed? Thousands of fucking people, man.
Hey, and those countries remember it, man.
Yeah, and they remember that shit.
Japanese over there, like, man, if anybody fucks with America, I'm coming to his aid.
Right.
They're like, man, I want to join in. Like
they that's all they doing. They just waiting. And they really waiting for Russia and China to make a move. Because once Russia and China make a move, that's when these nations, Turkey, Iran, North Korea, South Korea, they're gonna start making their moves, man. Go ahead, Ak. Let me get that Malachi.
Malachi 1:4, and it reads, whereas Edom said, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus says the Most High of Hosts,
they shall build, but I will throw down. And that's what it just said in Obadiah. The Most High is gonna cast you out, devil. The Most High is. Hey, let me get the book of Zephaniah, chapter 8, verse 3. I think it's 8 verse 3 or 3 verse 8. It's one of those. I get it backwards. Might be 3 and 8.
3 and 8.
Let me get that out real quick.
Zephaniah 3 and 8. Therefore wait ye upon me, say Yahweh.
Right.
Until the day that I rise up to the prey.
Mm-hmm.
For my determination is to gather the nations.
Right.
That I may assemble the kingdoms to pour upon them my indignation.
Right. Righteous anger.
All my fierce anger. For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy.
Woo! So hey, that's what's coming, man. The fire of the Lord jealousy was these thermonuclear missiles that brothers are talking about. This is what the Most High is preparing. He got the Smith. The Smiths are making this weapon. The weapons is going to be used for destruction. You're not going to make a weapon for nothing. If you go buy a gun, are you going to use it for nothing? What are you buying that gun for? You buying that gun for your defense. So if anybody comes up, you pow pow, and then he dead. That's your defense. That's your weapon. So these nations have weapons that they are going to use. Why? Because the Most High is in the mind of the nations to use them. Let me get that actually. Proverbs 21 and 1.
If you think about it too, in World War II, the big thing that made America like real successful is because America was always already a production based company, production-based nation. They were shipping a lot of goods out, right?
Right.
So when World War II came around, they sat there and told everybody, you know what, your factory, we're making this thing. The military was like, we came in, we're making bullets at this factory, we're processing gunpowder at this factory. Some of those pork plants, they would use the pork to get glycerin for the bombs.
Mm-hmm.
So they could make nitroglycerin. So like they took all the manufacturing that was going on in the U.S. to be able to fund their military exploits.
Right.
But now America hasn't been a producer like that, so they don't even have the infrastructure here to do that anymore. They still might have military industrial complexes where they make a lot of weapons and shit, but if it was an all-out war and everybody against everybody, America would kind of lose after a minute, man, because they'll start running out of this. It takes a long time to get a factory ready to do military shit. But all these other countries, they've been making goods for America and the whole world for a long time, so it's easy for them to be like, you know what, turn this t-shirt factory into uniform factory for this. Turn this car parts factory into a tank factory. You know, it's easy, man. The Lord is cold how he did it.
Hey, and America has been setting themselves up to fall.
Yep.
Because now that they have nations making their product, they're putting themselves in debt and even more debt. So you say here, well, you go ahead and we'll pay you for this, but we're only going to be able to pay some of it, not all of it. So you go ahead and you pay for these materials, you get these materials, and now you're putting yourself in debt. So these nations like, okay, we're going to come together and we're going to find a way to get rid of their dollar so they're not in power anymore. Because a lot of like the brother's talking about, a lot of their wealth is coming from the other nations because they have businesses out there. Like Donald Trump said, he was like, oh, you know, what we need to do is move our jobs from out there back to America because they got work out there. But what happens if they decide to close all them doors? that have business over there in over there in the Middle East. America begins to lose money, which means they can just start cutting off America right then and there, and that's it. Then they have nothing else coming in. Now you can't make no more weapons. You got to deal with what you have in America, and you already know that the shit you have in America don't even work right. You know, for an example, when they brought out these game systems, and they let these game systems go out because they tried to have a competition with fucking Japan, and their game systems was blowing up in people's faces. So America don't make shit right, because they don't have the people with the intelligence to make the shit right, that they got to use the other nations to make the shit and then ship it here. It's bugged out, man.
There's a movie called Mr. Mom. It was with the old dude that used to play Batman, like the original Batman. And in that movie, he worked at a car parts factory. He worked at a car factory in the U.S., and they were sitting there making bogus shit. And their company started to fall. So they brought people from Japan over to show them how to do it. You know, because they were doing all that shit right. And then when they brought from Japan, he used to work at Toyota. So he came in to like an American car part factory and showed them, hey, this is how you do shit right. So what? After a minute, those jobs went because they said, hey man, everything get made in America. Shit. So what? Everything went off overseas and they started doing that shit right.
Yeah. Go ahead, Art. Let me get Obadiah back. We done with that, Malachi.
Obadiah 1, verse 5 reads, if thieves come to thee, and robbers by night, how art thou cut off?
Right.
Will they have not stolen till they have enough?
Right. So that's what they will constantly do. They will constantly steal, and they won't leave nothing behind, man. They won't leave nothing behind for the other people, because that's how Edom thinks. It's greed. I was watching a YouTube, what was that shit called? It was called like economics, and they explained how the economic system has been built from the debt and all of that shit, and they tell you that they would just keep going because of the corruption, man. You got nothing but corruption here, and it tells you that in the book of what is that? Second Esdras, man. It says, for corruption have grown. What is that? Second Esdras 7:41. Let me get that out. I think it's Second Esdras 7:41 real quick. It says corruption have increased, I believe. Second Esdras 7:41. Yep. Yeah, go ahead.
Second Esdras 7:41. It says, even so now, seeing corruption is grown up,
right,
and wickedness increased, and the righteous have prayed for the ungodly. Wherefore shall it now not be so now also?
So and that's what you see. You see corruption and wickedness have grown up, man. Because look, this guy over here, he's making hundreds of millions of dollars only so he can have these people over here all fucked up, man. That's how the so-called white man does it. Go ahead, Art.
If the grape gatherers come to thee, will they have not leave some grapes? Right.
You don't go to an orange tree and take all the oranges off of it. You don't go to an orange tree and take all the oranges off, man. Go ahead. You leave some for other people and shit. Go ahead, Art.
How are the things of Esau searched out?
Right.
How is his hidden?
Let me get Jeremiah 49:2.
All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border.
Right.
The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee.
Right.
And prevailed against thee.
Right, because what are they doing? They letting you build up all this debt only so they could drop the dollar and use their system of money. Because the dollar isn't money. The dollar is a substitute. You know, it's a currency that they use so the government can control the people. Money is actual gold and silver. When a dollar was something, it was only because it was backed by gold. It's not backed by gold anymore. 1971, they cut that shit off. They said, nah, no more of that. But you had nations that wanted that shit under gold, because that will protect their finances if that shit was under gold. But the wicked said, nah, we keep the gold. Let's put this shit in the bank somewhere and leave it underground, and it'll all be ours. So when this money becomes nothing, we have something, but the people don't. So that's why they set up stores all around the world that says, we buy your gold. Why do they do that? Why did they do that? And then why did China turn around and buy more gold from the U.S.? Why did Japan do the same fucking thing? This is what people are not paying attention to, because they're too goddamn stupid. But they just keep going to these jobs and they get paid and they spend all this money while they should be putting half that shit towards gold. But ultimately, you need the Most High to deliver you from all the shit that's coming. Your gold and your silver isn't going to save you. And it tells you that in the book of Zechariah, the 1st chapter. Go ahead, Art.
Fun. And prevailed against thee. They
Right.
that eateth the bread have laid a wound under thee.
Right?
There is none understanding.
They left a wound under you, man. So if you got Esau, right? For an example, you got Esau. He's in the field, and he takes a arrow and he shoots an animal down, and then he walks away. He just left a wound for that animal to do what? To die. That's what the nations have did to America. America have a wound, and that wound is its finances, its economy. That wound is what's gonna bring this place down even further than what it is now. Go ahead, Art. Go ahead, Art.
Shall I not in that day, saith the Most High, even destroy the wise men out of Edom,
Right?
and understanding?
Hey, and that's being seen. Like the brother Karatazar said, these devils are just doing anything now. They're just reckless with it. Just like what's happening with the COVID-19, they reckless with it now. Oh, there's so many million people infected, so many people dying a day. The devil just wakes up and say, 100 people just died today.
This song was with the syringe like this. And he's like, oh shit.
That was reckless as hell, man. They could have put water in there or something.
They didn't have shit in it.
They didn't have shit in there, huh?
2.5 people died today.
Right, we had 2.5 deaths.
That midget died from the vaccine.
They what did they say, that nurse from yesterday died or some shit like that. Go ahead with that Joel.
She was diabetic and she had a low blood sugar.
Yeah.
That's why she fell.
Ridiculous, man. Go ahead with that Joel.
Joel 3.
Yeah.
This Joel.
Hey, getting reckless as hell, man.
Yeah.
Hey, that's why the scripture says his feet shall slide in due time.
I love that scripture.
Go ahead, Art.
This is Joel 3:9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles.
Right.
Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near.
This is what's coming. Let me get Jeremiah 50:9, Art. And because all the men of war is drawing near. You got China and Russia placing submarine warships even closer to America. Now they're not gonna pass that line. They're not gonna pass because they're gonna break international law. But right now they're seeing America break all these international laws. So by America breaking all these international laws, that gives them the legal right to make war upon America if they wanted to, man. And then it'll be in their legal right, and the UN will have no choice but to agree with it. Go ahead, Art.
It says, let all the men of war draw near, let
Right.
them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords,
Right.
and your pruning hooks into spears.
Right?
Let the weak say, I am strong.
And that's what's happening, man. The weak is saying that they are strong. Because now you got nuclear capabilities. Now when you got nuclear capabilities, you can be prideful, you know? Especially when you got Iran. You know, how long now have America been saying that they was going to go to war with Iran? You've been hearing that shit for months now. But they're hesitating to do it because now they got to worry about Russia. They got to worry about Big Brother and shit. Go ahead, all right.
Too, for a long time, Russia was weak as fuck. Because after World War II, they got bankrupted. They were fucking hella in debt. So that's why I think it was like 2 years ago when Russia paid back their last final bit of their debt.
Right.
They were at zero. Like everybody was surprised. Everybody was like fucking amazed because now he's free to do whatever the fuck he wants. He has no other financial responsibilities.
Nope.
You can't threaten to put any real sanctions on him because he don't owe you shit.
You don't owe you nothing. And then you got, how the fuck you owe Russia, you owe China, you owe Japan, and Japan is the one that's buying most of the debt, and at the same time you want to put sanctions on different nations.
Yep.
How the hell you putting sanctions? See, this is how you know that the dollar is still in some type of play, because you're able to put sanctions on nations when your ass is in debt with those nations.
Because what they do is they'll freeze that debt.
Mm-hmm.
They'll freeze that debt they acquired. So they'll be like, no, we're not that money can't circulate.
Yep.
That's what they do. So Russia, when they were like passing all that shit off, it was like, we almost out of your shit anyway.
Right. Hey, that's that wound that the nations have put up under this place, because as much more debt that they have with these nations, the more that their dollar becomes valued, and the more the dollar in America becomes devalued. So once you could get rid of the currency that you're using at this moment, then hey, now you in power. That's why everybody believes that Russia or China is going to be in power next. It's a bunch of nonsense, man.
But this is like 3 or 4 years ago. I used to get this beard cream, and I had to buy it from London and shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when it would get shipped over, I had to pay the equivalent of American dollars for their shit.
Right.
And it was almost $3. You look at that shit now, it's $1.50. So I'm like, wow, like shit. Even London's economy is doing bad. So
Yeah.
it's cold,
it's cold. It's cold. Go ahead, Op. Hey, that's why they even said that we're in somewhat of an inflation, because you seeing prices going up on all these goods. You know, when you was buying some chips that costed 25 cents, a bag of chips now costs $1.65 or some shit like that. So you already in an inflation.
Yep.
You just looking for more of an inflation or a hyperinflation, and that's coming right around the corner.
And it's already happening, man.
Yep.
Groceries is getting steep, bro. Going to buy groceries is getting way more.
Shit, I remember $100 could get you almost 3 carts of food, man. I remember shit like that.
Well, like
Shit.
2 years ago, $100 to get you like a lot of shit from Costco, man. That's 2 packs of meat. Like, you know, the Costco meat is a big ass pack. 2 packs of meat, fucking cereal, milk, fucking butter, all that shit, bread. Be able to last it. Bro, now $100 get you 1 pack of meat.
Get you 1 pack of
half a
meat,
loaf of bread.
maybe some almond milk.
Maybe some almond milk and shit. And then you got to think about how you going to make your own cereal.
Right.
We're going to toast this bread up real nice. Cinnamon
we
sugar.
gonna put
It's
something.
going to be our own cinnamon toast.
Something's gonna happen.
Toss a ball. You want to Jeremiah?
Give me Jeremiah 50 and 9, man.
This Jeremiah 50 verse 9, it says, "For lo, I will raise a cause to come up against Babylon, an assembly of great nations."
Right, and this is what's happening. You know, the Most High is raising up these nations to come up against Babylon, financially, economically, and they're coming up against them in a warlike fashion, man. So these things are taking place. Go ahead, Art.
From the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her.
And we've been talking about that with the warships being set up. If you set up the warships in a direct type of situation, their missiles can come over here no problem. Go ahead, Art.
From the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken, their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert.
Right.
None shall return in vain.
And the brother just brought that out in the book of 2nd Ezra 16:13. It says their arrows that they shoot shall be sharp, and none shall miss. So no arrow is gonna miss. You know, that's why I like that movie. What is it called? The Hood or something like that, where it had what's my dude name? Jamie Foxx. It had Jamie Foxx in there, and he was shooting them arrows like a beast. Robin Hood. That's what it was called.
Yeah, he was whooping their ass.
Man, he was whooping their ass with them arrows, and then they got. Like, man, why they couldn't keep him in the movie, man? Like, why they couldn't keep Jamie Foxx? Why they had to put that Edomite in there, man?
And he gave Edomite all the secrets.
Man.
He controlled everything, the money. That part. He was like, because Robin Hood was trying to figure everything out.
Mm-hmm.
Are you good?
You good. Go ahead, Ock.
Colin, you going?
It's
Hey,
Jeremiah.
you know it's cold though. Yeah, because Jake had to understand it. He dropped something? Yeah. What you call him?
I don't even know what he dropped.
Well, you ain't gonna get it. But when you look at that movie, Jake is the one that had to look at that because he was the one in the destitute spot. But Esau, he was living it up in the palace, right?
Right.
So he didn't give a fuck about it until he had to see that shit firsthand. But if somebody would have came and told him that shit was happening, he would have gave a fuck. But that movie is cold.
That movie cold, man.
I gotta rewatch that, man.
Go ahead, Ock.
This is 10 to say, and Chaldea shall be a spoil. All that spoil her shall be satisfied, said the Lord Yahweh.
Right.
Because you were glad, because you were glad, because ye rejoiced, O ye destroyers of mine heritage.
Right.
Because, let me run that back. O ye
And that's
destroyers
all nations. Because when you go into, what is that, the book of Jeremiah 51 and 33, it says for Israel and Judah went into captivity together, man. Go ahead, Ak.
O ye destroyers of mine heritage, because ye are grown fat as a heifer at grass,
Right.
and below as bulls.
Right, going back into the book of 2nd Ezra, the 3rd chapter, you see these nations have riches and Israel have nothing, man. You know, Israel collect a little bit of money and Israel think they have something. But the money that you got is got by wickedness, man.
The best vacation Jake go on is Florida or Jamaica.
Yep.
And Jamaica fucked up.
What is that, Proverbs 11 and 4? Let me get Proverbs 11 and 4, Ak. I believe that's Proverbs 11 and 4, and then we can end it from here.
Proverbs 11 verse 4. It
Yeah.
reads, riches profit not in the day of wrath,
Right?
but righteousness delivereth from death.
So there you go, man. Riches profit not in the day of wrath. So no matter how much money you got, you're not going to pay your way into the kingdom, man. You're not going to pay your way into the kingdom. The only way you're going to get into the kingdom is by way of righteousness. The scriptures tell you that, man. You know, what righteousness is? The keeping of the law, statutes, and commandments, man. You got people who believe that, you know, you could sin because you got grace and shit. But no, grace is a period of time for you to get right, man. So again, this is what's coming. Ak, let me get 1 Peter 4 and 7. We're going to get that back, then we can end it, brother.
This is 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 7. It says, but the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer.
Right. So the end of all things is at hand. Be ye sober and watch unto prayer. But other than that, we're going to say Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahushua. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahushua. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahushua. Bahashem Rakah HaKadash. We'd like to say Shalom.
Shalom.